Resting boldly it is very active. It's not passive because you're becoming an active participant in noticing what you as the leader need, coming back to yourself and to your body. Often as leaders, we're very focused externally. So we're coming back internally. Sometimes just beginning with the basics, like what does my body need right now? And coming back to the importance of that and responding to those needs. Because as leaders, that's our job.
Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing.
One tiny step at a time. Hey, I'm Anna Saucier. I recorded this episode with Megan from a Rest Boldly retreat we just wrapped up in Guatemala, and we really want to share it with you. During that retreat, 7 Catholic women leaders showed up carrying meaningful work, real missions that they're scaling or movements they're leading, and a deep, deep faith. Most of them were exhausted in a way that had started to feel permanent, like this is just a new normal. Megan and I often talk about these 2 paradigms of leadership, the industrial model, which most of us absorbed without even realizing it, and it kind of treats people like machines, like you're in a factory. We extract, produce, and repeat. It's an input-output focused on efficiency and extracting or pulling out as much as possible from whatever's in front of you, including yourself, until burnout becomes the natural result of this. Then there's what we call the garden paradigm. This is cyclical. It's attentive to seasons. It's designed for fruitfulness over the long haul. Women understand this garden paradigm innately, deeply. We carry it and crave it in our very bodies. But somewhere along the way, most of us forgot it in our work. What we witnessed this week during this retreat was what happens when you finally stop or pause, when there's enough space to think again, to feel the vision again, to ask the questions you've been too tired or busy to sit with. And as the rest deepened over the course of this retreat, the strategic clarity came with it. The internal shift and the external vision move together. That's what this conversation is about. We sat down, Megan and I, mid-retreat while some of our participants were napping in the next room or journaling as they overlooked the lake, and talked about why we built this. And we talked about what we witnessed when these 7 women finally slowed down. So if you're doing meaningful work and you're tired of the cost that it's taking, this one's for you.
Santa, why do we do this? We need a shift in leadership. We need a shift in Catholic women's leadership. And really not as much of a shift as providing a pathway for women to step into leadership. In Catholic spaces, yes, because that's what we focus in on, but in the world, because we need the gifts that women bring in the way that we lead. A lot of women have come into leadership roles and been in leadership roles and serving in leadership roles in more of a masculine way. We talk a lot about these different paradigms of an industrial paradigm versus a garden paradigm. An industrial paradigm is much more focused on efficiency and productivity and putting things in and getting things out. And women we bring different gifts. We bring more of an understanding of how things work in a cyclical process, like a garden. There are fallow times, there are growth times, there are times of pruning, and that's natural and it's built into our bodies. And I believe we need a lot more of that in the world. We need it in leadership spaces so that it can trickle down to others and infiltrate or rebuild, regenerate the systems that need to be rebuilt to bring more of that in, because we're just operating in this kind of method of extraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we talk about the paradigm too, it's like it's soul sucking, like the industrial factory paradigm, because it treats people like machines and it's dehumanizing. And I think what you're saying and like the gifts that women bring, it's that real understanding of the whole person. And what we also are trying to bring together is that it's not only that we're bringing that whole person understanding into the work that we do externally and like the way that we want to change the world and we want to heal the world, we want to bring restoration, or we want to lead a movement to change the systems, but also the way that we treat ourselves in our work. Are we treating ourselves and our team members and the organization as a whole as this like living organism and not just machines? We're not just robots that are doing this work. And so how do we care for ourselves and each other in that way at the same time? To where in the factory industrial paradigm, we see so often in burnout is the natural byproduct, right? And yet in the garden paradigm, it's fruitfulness, and it's this regenerative culture where it brings life to everybody involved.
Mhm. Yeah, it's beginning in the one person, in the leader themselves, in the internal work is absolutely necessary, because one of the struggles that we see in particular in leadership is in incongruence between how things are happening externally. Maybe there is a lot of growth. There's a lot being produced. We're helping a lot of people. Things look fantastic. But internally, like that leader is burning out. They're tired. They're losing connection with their mission. And everybody feels that. Everybody in the organization feels that. And so not only are they feeling that themselves, they're feeling the incongruence of that. And so in order to shift that, then we must start internally. And I think, no, it's a big part of the way that we do things differently, because you can go find lots of leadership programs that will focus on all of the external factors. They'll focus on how to interact with people differently, how to create maybe communication rhythms or structures within the organization, in conflict resolution, and all of these leadership skills. It teaches them externally, but without asking. We talk about something like conflict. Well, what's your relationship with conflict internally?
Within
When
yourself.
within your
Yep.
own self,
Yep.
when I feel, for example, like, well, part of me wants to do this or part of me wants to do this, and we have this tension and conflict internally.
Mhm.
Do you even know how to be present to yourself in that way? And when we can learn to do that first, then the external stuff just becomes a natural extension of that. And we're not pushing it. It comes more naturally.
Mhm. Beautiful. Can you share, Anna, like what were some of the biggest things that you saw in the women this week? Like what were the shifts that you were seeing, or what did you witness their aha moments?
The biggest thing is the power of slowing down and creating space. They're so powerful, and they're so absent in most of these women's and most women's daily lives. And not only are they absent, they're shamed. They're seen as a must do when I totally burn out.
Only when I hit a breaking point, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna rest, or
exactly.
I'm gonna slow it down, or I'm gonna reset.
Exactly. But they come here and, oh, I have this space. Like I can think again, and I can feel the vision again, and I can lay it all out in these. We get these big sheets of paper and markers. And one of the women was cutting things out of this origami paper and making a beautiful design. And we need to be able to access that creative capacity to allow the ideas to emerge, to allow the creativity and the co-creation with God to happen. Because for the women that we work with, a lot of them, this is their life's work. This is something that God has put on their heart to nurture and to steward, not like, okay, this is my job and I'm going to produce this many products so I can make money and then buy a yacht or whatever. they're doing they're doing much deeper work. And so it has to come from that deeper place, but we can't access that when we don't have space to do it.
Yeah, we saw time and time again, just like the expansiveness that opens up when you slow it down, and you step away from the chaos of the day to day. Because yes, we can build in space. We can try to carve it out into our daily life, but it's so much harder. And so sometimes you really do need that space away first to reset. And like you said, being able to access the different levels of thinking than you normally do, like being able to dream again in a way that you haven't in a long time, to reconnect with your deeper why that you may have especially if you're more burnt out or you're just carrying so much and it's so heavy and you feel the strain of it constantly. Okay, why am I doing this? What do I really feel thriving would look like in this work? Like both for me, for everybody that I work with, for everybody that I serve, and like redefining that. Because in every next season, what we've seen too, and just so many of the women we work with, it's like they're outgrowing the old way of operating. They're outgrowing the structure that was in place before. Maybe they're outgrowing their old role and they're ready to step into something new. And that takes space and time and support and processing. Like, what am I ready to let go of so that I can make space for what I'm ready to receive next? For this, maybe this new responsibility I'm meant to hold or the new way I'm meant to lead moving forward.
Yeah. And we also take it a step further. We're not just creating the space so that they can reset and then go back in. But as we're doing that, we're teaching them and inviting them to practice being more aware of their body and their nervous system to begin to shift into bringing that rest and space into their daily life and into their way of operating. Because we don't want that pattern of go, 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 crash and rest, reset, have a retreat, get the vision back, go back in and pound, pound, pound. We want to invite them to begin operating differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes support and it takes normalizing that sometimes is uncomfortable when you're used to moving fast and it doesn't often feel safe to slow down because everything feels urgent and really, really important. And there's just so many moving pieces and parts and everything is swirling. Like it can feel unsafe to slow down. And so also working with that internally and acknowledging that and normalizing that and helping it become like an incremental shift where rest and work don't have to be at odds constantly. Like it can be this flow between, and that's the healthiest way.
Yeah, this is something we can do on a normal, regular basis. And that's a whole societal shift, or at least in the Western world, are seeing rest as a weakness, slowing down as a weakness. Yeah. The busyness, the speed are glorified, really. And so making these tiny shifts, really we're leading that. We're leading that and we're inviting these women to lead in that shift on a wider basis so that we can change the way that we all operate and change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's also a part of it too, it is seeing that for them, like if they are not willing to slow down, everything around them will not slow down. Right. And so giving them that sense of empowerment of like, you have a choice here. You may feel right now like you're kind of a victim to like everything that's coming at you from all the directions. And that's often the experience. But here's what you have a choice in. And you can start little moments, but that can build a ripple effect and that can create so much more spaciousness in the day-to-day leadership, in the organization, in the work. And I think that's so much more how God wants us to operate. It's not in the frantic hustle and pressure and constant doing, but we also need to learn how to be. And in order to be able to receive, this is slowing down.
Yeah. It very much comes into play on the strategic side of business as well. Because as you say, it affects everything around us. And so it affects the way we build strategy, the way that we design operations. If we're operating in that hustly industrial paradigm, then we're going to design systems that also are going to operate that way. But if we're learning as leaders to operate in a slower garden paradigm, then we're also going to be more receptive to things like we're going to decide on a strategy or build a foundation, and it's going to be a test. And I'm open to feedback, and we're going to see what fruit comes from it. And we're going to observe that and nurture it rather than like, we must make it happen is the difference there. Like, I must make this happen or else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like make it happen at all costs. And it's just, it becomes this like mission first that people always just end up on the back burner or just like bear the cost of that then. Right.
So as we're leading women, as we're doing these retreats, it's not just, there are two women up there taking naps right now, but as we're recording this, but it's not just naps and kayaks and hot tub, which are fantastic. We're doing the strategic work as well. We move from the internal, we're working with the nervous system, learning what it feels like to rest. And then we're moving into very practical and strategic things because we believe that those things They really do need to move at the same time. You get to shift at the same time.
Exactly. We call this rest boldly, and it's in some ways people have all different relationships with rest, and often very complicated relationships with rest. And so we hear that and maybe a resistance around it, and maybe it's not really what I need. I need to move. Like I want to grow. I want to scale. I want to do this thing bigger. I want to have a bigger impact. And so why is rest like what I would need? But it's very much an active participation and co-creation. And so the rest for this group in particular has looked a lot more like, yeah, we're doing the deep thinking and dreaming and visioning and strategizing. And we're also laughing and playing and having fun together and hiking a mountain and volcano and
significant
like just this beautiful integration of those things. And then we're slowing down and we're doing a meditation to integrate the old and the new and holding space for different ideas and brainstorming and hashing things out on a big piece of paper, all different colors and getting to access different creativity around that too. And it's just, yeah, like that's restful in a way because we don't get space to do that usually in the day-to-day.
Yeah. Resting boldly is very active. It's not passive because you're becoming an active participant in noticing what you as the leader need, coming back to yourself and to your body. Often as leaders, we're very focused externally. So we're coming back internally, sometimes just beginning with the basics, like what does my body need right now? And coming back to the importance of that and responding to those needs. Because as leaders, that's our job. We're seeing needs. We're seeing needs in systems, with people, with humanity, and then having ideas and visions of how to meet those needs. So that practice itself begins very internally. And it's bold because it can be very vulnerable, both to see those needs, because it also brings up the stuff around the needs, the ways we've shut ourselves down. So sometimes there's really significant emotional work and mental work that comes with that. But there's so much fruit.
I was going to ask you why it's called bold rest. Because it takes a lot of courage, man. It's going against the grain. And it's also, like you said, sometimes acknowledging those painful places where there's been a disconnect between like, I value health and well-being and my mission is working towards healing and wholeness for others. And yet I'm running myself into the ground with zero space to even breathe behind the scenes because I'm just trying to keep everything afloat. Like that's the common experience. And you see how disconnected that is, right? But that is a place that we can unshame because we can see we're not alone in it. And this is a struggle because we've been conditioned to operate in a certain way. And so we have to look at like, where is that point of incongruence and how can we start to allow the Lord to restore that? And what is that going to take? Like, what is that shift going to take over time? Because that's what it needs to look like to be actually sustainable, but then also to be operating in integrity as a leader. We will constantly feel that internal disconnect as long as it's present. And it's going to be like a threshold in the actual ability to have an impact or to expand your mission or whatever it might be, or just to receive more from the Lord, like more opportunities, more impact, more income, to be able to serve more people. And so it's like a hidden bottleneck, I feel like a lot of times. That once we break through that, it just clears space, like clear space in a new way. Yeah.
We're called to do this as women, and especially as Catholic women. We refer back to St. John Paul II's letter to women. He saw and he's called women into places of change, significant change, of significant leadership in shifting the paradigm from the productivity to the receptivity and to meeting needs so that we can truly create a human culture of love and of life.
We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.